Hello, Create Schools. Today I want to talk about what happens after World War II. And we're going to look at the Cold War, and this entire chapter is dedicated about who is to blame for the Cold War. So we like to place blame on people when we look back in history. So do we want to blame the Cold War on the USA or the USSR? But before we could even discuss what the Cold War is and who is to blame, first we need to look at the background and understand why and what is going on. So we're going to look at the question today: why did the USA-USSR alliance begin to break down in 1945? So you can go ahead and pause the video here, go ahead and get your paper and pen and take these notes down and come with me to the next slide. Okay, so here we want to talk about how the breakdown begins, but before we talk about even how it begins to break down, let's go back and review how come it was even a union to begin with. So Stalin and the USSR, or the Soviet Union, you can call it either way, has been communist since around 1920 with the Bolshevik Revolution. You don't need to know the details on that, but there was a big battle and where they got rid of the Tsar, basically the king of Russia, and the Bolsheviks took over and they set up a communism regime, and Stalin is the head guy at this time. My head guy at the time before and the head guy as well now. He was the ruler for a really long time over the Soviet Union. So basically, if we want to take a look at this cartoon, here we've got Roosevelt and Churchill and Stalin sitting here in the middle, and Stalin is dressed up like a little good Russian girl. And over here we have Hitler as Cupid or Amor, and he is shooting arrows at them so they will fall in love and be together. Basically, an enemy of my enemy is my friend, is the theory behind here. So those three work together in order to get rid of Hitler and the Nazis. But once Germany was defeated, the USA and the USSR no longer had a common enemy, so they didn't need to be friends anymore. So the politicians and the business leaders of the USA and the and Britain started realizing, we really don't like these communist ideas. They're not what we believe. It's not going to work. I'm not sure that we can be friends. And then also Stalin didn't like the things that were going on in the conferences after World War II, and I'll go into more about those conferences in the next video. But just notice that Stalin didn't really like what was happening. He also didn't like the appeasement of Germany before World War II, and he was kind of worried that that might happen as well. So if you have not taken the notes, please pause the video and write these notes down. When you're ready, we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, basically the biggest problems between the USA and the USSR, because Britain is not a big player in the Cold War, but of course Britain is on the USA side, but it's all of a discussion of the USA or the USSR. And so it's one group is capitalist and one group is communist. And if you've read Animal Farm, which you should have read in English class, then you have a good understanding of what communism versus capitalism is already. So capitalism is what we have here in Germany and is what the United States had. Communism is what they had in the Soviet Union and is what they currently have in North Korea, and then China has, they say they're communistic, but it's a slightly different view on communism as we would be talking about here. So I'll go on and explain those, but first go ahead and pause the video and write these things down for me. Okay, so in capitalism, Like I say, it's what the USA had, it's what we have here. There are free elections with many different political parties. If you think in Germany, we've got tons and tons and tons of political parties. In the United States, we only have the Republicans and Democrats, or you can be an independent if you don't wish to be either one. But you have your elections, you get to choose from a huge variety of people that have a huge variety of different ideas. Next, in capitalism, people own their own companies. So private people own companies. And so if you have a big factory and it makes profit, the individual gets the money. Like I say, this is exactly what we have here in Germany, so this should be sound all familiar. Then there's individual rights. The more you have, then the more you have. It's very simple. They say if you work really hard, then you get more, but that's not always true. Some people work very hard and still don't get much. But basically, if you have a lot, you've got a lot. If you don't have very much, you don't have very much. No one's really giving you things, or, we do have aid for people that are poor, but basically, if you're rich, and you don't have to support poor people. So let's go on to communism. In communism, they do have elections, so they do vote, but there's only the Communist Party. So it's one communist person versus another communist person. So it's basically someone with one set of beliefs against someone with the exact same beliefs. So the only difference is the person itself, but the beliefs, the ideas, the fundamentals, and what's going to actually happen are not, you don't get to choose there. But there is elections. It's just only communist parties in those elections. Now, the state owns all the industries, they own all the stores, they own all the factories, they own everything. So in 1919, in the Bolshevik Revolution, if you had owned something, a business, then when communism took over, they took that business away from you, and then the government owns it. Okay, and you no longer own it. You might be a major worker there or a major manager, but it is not your business. When the business makes money, you don't get the money goes to the government. But that also means that everyone can easier get a job. If people can have jobs, people, they get jobs, and everyone has a job, everyone has work, and everyone has the equal amount, the individual rights. Everyone is equal, everyone gets something. Now, when you've read the book Animal Farm, there is a quote, everyone is equal, but some people are more equal than others. So, of course, in communism, there were the people that were more the managers. They had some of the bigger things. They had a little bit more. But in general, most people were not extremely wealthy or extremely poor, but all around the average. Okay, that is my discussion about communism versus capitalism. Sorry, I just realized I forgot to tell you to pause the video during the capitalistic part, but hopefully you had all that notes down and it wasn't too much to go back and get those notes. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. This is extremely important that you understand the difference between communism and capitalism. If you don't understand why this is happening, the next 3 chapters will not make sense to you. So please make sure you really understand, and please definitely ask lots of questions if you don't. Okay, I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.